Okay, this is the second video on the inspection of the PPE that's going to be needed for the performance eval for core curriculum module 1. We covered the hard hat, the safety glasses, all of that stuff already. Now we're going to do the safety harness, personal fall arrest system, the lanyard, and the attachment point. So we'll start with the attachment point. This is a beam clamp. It hooks onto an I-beam. So this would go in and fix against the sides of the I-beam. So what we're looking at with any fall arrest system, the first thing we start with is the D-ring that we hook to on this. We would look for it for any cracks, deformations, notches, gouges. If there is a gouge somewhere in that ring, that means something has hit it, something has pulled on it and made a mark there, which means usually it needs to be inspected by somebody more qualified than the individual out in the field. It needs to be inspected by a qualified person. Finding nothing wrong with the D-ring. Is it flexible? It moves around. We would go to the bar. No cracks, damage, imperfections, gouges there. We go to the elements that clip onto the clamp. They move back and forth. There's a little lever rack here that you move to release. Go forward, they should clap. This one moves forward, backwards. Then we would look at the corners in here for the same type of gouges, notches, marks, anything that would be damaged in there where it had been pulled against or impacted against. Seeing nothing wrong, would say this is safe to continue using. Next we'll do the lanyard. I'll start with the self-retracting lanyard. Self-retracting because as you can see I can pull it out slowly, but if it were to fall, I pull and you hear that noise how it clicks. So technically we should pull this all the way out and inspect all of that strap. And we would do that in the field, but for the element of time down here, we're not going to do it. We're not going to pull it all out. The second thing we would look at, I call this the tattletale on there. If it has been impacted, if somebody has fallen, this will start tearing away, which is a dead giveaway that it's been impacted. So you look at that tattletale and make sure that nothing's been damaged on that, nothing is opened up. Next, we would do the hook and the device that attaches to the strap. It's just a swivel eye, moves around on there good. The hook, again, like everything else we've inspected, no marks, gouges, damage, impacts, things like that inside the hook. The hook does not open, should not open. This one does not open unless we undo the latch and do it that way. But like that, it should not open and it doesn't. It will open when we undo the safety latch. So, and again, the safety latch fits in there good. No marks on there. That hook is good. We go back to the opposite end where we would be attaching it to our anchor point. Again, look at the hook, at the opening, make sure there's no impact, no cracks, no gouges, no marks, no damage. This one you have to turn to open. You turn it to light up the holes to slide to open. Won't open unless we turn it and unlock it. So again, this one looks good. I don't see any problems with it. I would say it's safe to use. Second lanyard would be the shock absorbing lanyard. And again, we'll start with the anchor point. Check the hook just like we did on the other one, looking for any gouges. It doesn't open unless we undo the lock. Fits back in there good, same as the inspection on the other one. This goes to the D-ring. This has two different legs off of it, so this hooks to your D-ring on the back of your harness. Then we would go through and start inspecting the lanyard for any bad stitching, any rips, any tears, any cuts, any burns, any sort of damage whatsoever. For the element of time, we would take this off inspect all of it, but for the element of time on the video, I'm not going to pull that off of there, but we would stretch out each individual section of this shock absorbing part and then go through and make sure that there's no cuts, nicks, damage, burns to anything going through there. Again, for the element of time, not going to go through and do the whole entire thing, but we would do that in an inspection out in the field. Get down here, we get to the other stitching. Again, looking for any damage, any stitching coming undone. You may see a stray thread sticking out of there. That's where the stitching ends sometimes. Got to look at it carefully and make sure it's not something coming apart. It's just where the stitch may have ended. The last part, does this still hook solidly to our, this is what we're going to be hooking to whatever we're tying off to, whatever that anchor point is. This one has big hooks. There are some with the same smaller hooks like this one on each end. The same inspection happens. These are very handy when you're working because they can hook onto a lot more things. But again, we still inspect the hook, make sure there's no marks, gouges, cracks, damage, anything like that. Does the hook open? Not unless we release the lock, and then it opens and then it closes and it stays closed. So on this one, then we would do the exact same inspection to the other side, to the second shock absorbing lanyard, go through and do all the same stuff. I'm not going to go through it because it would be the same thing, but to inspect it correctly out in the field, we would have to inspect every component of it. So from what I've seen, and I know I didn't do the entire thing, but this would be good to use. I would do a lot more inspection if I was using it in an application. But like I said, for the video and for the time, I think we explained what we need. The last part of the inspection would be our harness. Always grab the harness by the D-ring because that's where you start the inspection. Just like all the other ones, we talk about, are there any cracks, gouges, marks, gouges, anything in there that shows that it's been impacted. If it's impacted, we don't want to use it again. So the other part is this component where this flips back. So this is going to set in the middle of our back, in between our shoulder blades, so we want it to be able to be flexible. Then we would start going through and inspecting all the straps. Again, for the element of time, I'm not going to take the Velcro straps loose all the way and go through there. If you're out in the field, you would do that every time. But for the element of time here in the lab, of what we're doing to inspect it and show you know how to inspect it, I'm just going to go through the uncovered parts. Again, we would look for any cuts, burns, frays, any sort of damage that goes to any of them. We get up here to the buckles. Are they tight? Do they hold place? Are they flexible? Do they move? And this one does. And we would go around and do each strap all the way down, each strap around here. Again, wherever there's Velcro, we would take it off and look at it and loosen it and make sure it's underneath there. But again, for the element of time in the video, we won't be doing that. The last thing we would do, after we inspected all the straps, we would go to the actual buckles or latches, make sure that they latch and don't come apart until we're ready to take them apart. Latches, holds, releases. And we would do that with that chest strap and then both of the leg straps, we would do the same thing. But again, I think you've seen the process. I don't think I need to do each one so you can see it. The last part of the performance eval is that we would be donning and fitting the respirator, the harness, so that we will show that we can have it properly sized for what we're going to be doing out in the field. So again, start with the D-ring. Next step, put it on like a backpack. Put one arm through, swing it around, put the other arm through. Now I've pre-sized this pretty close, and I just remembered something when I reached down to the leg strap. Always take everything out of your pocket before you start. My wallet, my keys, 2 sets of keys, change, if you have any. I have my cell phone in my pocket. All of that stuff comes out, and that way it makes it easier to put on and nothing is poking at you while you're doing these things. So put that stuff in a safe location. Then, first, take the strap between your legs, hook it up to the appropriate buckle. Next, the other leg strap. Lastly, would be the chest strap. Like that. The thing you should be looking for first is the D-ring in between the middle of your shoulder blades. So we have a mirror here in the shop that I'm looking in, and mine looks pretty close. We would adjust that height by these straps that go through the D-ring and pull around here. Second, our leg straps are adjusted by doing these. Right now, mine are not completely tight. The way you check it, 2 fingers, put it down flat against in there, and if they turn all the way over, it needs to go tighter. If they turn 90 degrees, they need to go tighter. This one needs to go a little tighter. This one needs to go a little tighter. So I would do that by loosening the strap, and loosening the mechanism here, pushing some of this through to pull it tighter. I'm not going to do it. You guys will figure it out. We'll give you time in class to play around with it and make sure you can size it correctly. The last one is the chest strap. That should be tight enough that it won't pull off your shoulders. And since I undid the leg straps, it looks like it would pull off my shoulders, but when I have the leg straps done, it wouldn't. And it should also go across the nipple line. That's where it should fit. That's a simple adjustment of sliding it up or down, whatever way you need to do it. But again, if I attach these back, then it wouldn't pull off the sides. So when you guys do your performance eval on this, you're gonna come walking into the tool room after you've sized it. I'm going to ask you to take your 2 fingers, put them in here, and see if you can turn them sideways on both legs. And then I'm going to grab the shoulder straps and see if they'll pull off your side and make sure that it is across the nipple line. Like I say, there is a mirror in the shop over by the sink that you can use to make sure that the D-ring is sitting appropriately in between your shoulder blades. And for the element of time, while someone else is in inspecting all the other PPE, you will be getting this prepared and getting it on. And then when that person gets done, you can come in and show me this, that you've sized it, donned it, and fitted it, and then you can go through the inspection of it.